Good afternoon from Classic Cars Limited in Pleasanton, California. We are here with the owner of the 1978 Ferrari 308 GT4, Michael, and we just want to ask a few questions about the car and his ownership and get some details for you here. Michael, welcome. Thank you for doing this with us. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
First off, just to open it up and figure out what your thoughts are on the Ferrari and how you came about buying it and what your ownership experience has been like.
Okay, well, I started out in Australia because I'm Australian. At age 18, I started to get interested in cars. I wasn't interested before that, which is a bit surprising seeing what's happened since. But I started out with things like a Fiat, and then I decided, I needed an Alfa. So I had several Alfas, and then I thought, it's time to get serious about these cars. This was in the late 70s, early 80s. So I started looking at the Ferrari, and particularly the 308 GT4, because it was the so-called least expensive. Not that it's cheap, but it definitely is the least expensive. But I also looked at a Lamborghini, what was that, Harama 2+2, and oh man, I really wanted that car, but it was just too much money, so I couldn't afford it. So the 308, I mean, I like the Magnum Ferrari, but the GT4 was stated as being a better handling car because of the longer wheelbase. It's 4 inches longer, and it's more convenient because you've got a back seat. So, I've been working for many years, and so you could throw your briefcase in the back and things like that. And then, things changed. I came here to America, and after about 5 or 6 years here, I finally thought, maybe I can do a Ferrari, finally. And I managed to find this one in Santa Cruz. The guy he was the only owner. He'd had it for 19 years, I think it was, or 20 years. And after driving it, it was probably the best of the 3 or 4 that I had driven. Even better than there was one I had driven in Australia back in the mid-80s that I quite liked, but I think this was the best one. So I jumped in, feet first, and bought it.
Right.
And what do I like about it? Well, it's a 1970s motor car. When you compare it now to modern cars. Now, granted, when I bought it 20 odd years ago, there was 20 years of difference. These days, you jump out of a modern car into this and you think, this is really old. But when you start revving that engine out, you think, geez, it seems to be revving a lot. It's up around $4,000. You've still got another $3,500 to go. It's just, it's just wonderful. I just love driving it.
So your experience has been what you expected?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
And it drives easily. It's comfortable on the road. It's not that. It's definitely louder than it used to be, and that's because modern cars have become so quiet.
Right.
But it's still great to just get in and drive it. And it drives well. It's no problem keeping up with traffic because it may only have 205 brake horsepower, but it can put those horses down as you need it. And I seem to remember it was somewhere around 7.7 or 7.9 seconds to 60 miles an hour, which doesn't mean much these days when you can get Honda Civics that can beat that, but it's still quick.
And it's the way you're doing it.
It's the way you're doing it, and that sound, it's just...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. As far as your advice for the next owner, what would it be?
Well, because I let it sit for several years without really using it, use it. For the first, many years, I used it. I would drive it to work, I would drive it down to Safeway, because I wanted to be able to drive it wherever I wanted to. But it sort of sat around because I bought another car and it became a project for a few years. And boy, that catches up very fast because I had to do brakes, I had to do a catalytic converter, and so on. So the biggest thing is use it. And don't be afraid of the costs. Yes, when you do a 30,000 mile service, which is what I did when I first bought it, because I bought it without that service, but I got it a little less expensive, and that service was quite a few $1,000s. But if you get it done and done properly, you can then just drive it. You're not going to do it on the cheap, but it's not going to cost you too much money either. The big thing is to to keep using it. That helps a lot.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you doing this, and I know you're going to miss this car, but I have a feeling there will be more ahead of you.
There will be something else, yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michael.